My name is Casey Lindberg. I recently graduated with a Ph.D. from the toxicology program here at Duke, and I'm currently an associate in research with the Di Giulio lab, which is part of Project 4 of the Duke University Superfund Research Program. What really sparked my interest in toxicology was sitting in my AP environmental science class, and we would go about our business. We would learn whatever the teacher wanted to show us that day, but in the background he always had a video of the Deepwater Horizon spill as it was happening. So in real time we were watching thousands and thousands of gallons of oil spilling into the Gulf of Mexico every day for months. That went on, and it was horrifying. It was awful to see, and that experience really sparked my interest in ecotoxicology as a field. PAHs can be formed through both natural processes like volcanic eruptions, forest fires, any sort of burning fuels, but they're also mainly produced by human activities. We put a lot of PAHs out into the environment. And so studying these chemicals out there is really important because we're all exposed to them, and we're likely just going to keep getting exposed to more and more and more as time progresses. For the Di Giulio lab, it all comes back to heading out to the Elizabeth River and catching fish. So we have these different fish populations. They're from different types of environments. So we have, of course, our reference populations that are living in the clean or cleanest ecosystems. We have fish living in slightly contaminated ecosystems, but nothing too bad. And then we have our fish from these Superfund sites. And the levels of contamination at these sites are extreme. They're extremely severe and should cause mortality. They should cause death. Nothing really should be able to survive here, but these fish have adapted and they've evolved to be able to withstand that. And so an example of an experiment would be we take embryos from the different populations, we expose them to chemicals like our PAHs or other pollutants, pesticides, PCBs, you name it. And then we can also expose them to different environmental challenges. So we can mimic things like slight increases in temperature, like global warming in the environment. We can mimic hypoxic situations where we're decreasing the oxygen concentration of the water. But really what we focus on as well is the consequences of adaptation. So we have our different populations, and we want to see how the populations from our Superfund sites respond to these challenges versus populations at reference sites. And when it comes down to it, almost every time they're either more vulnerable to those stressors or they have a harder time tolerating or responding to these types of stressors. So when we think about fish populations, we're not just worried about the effect of pollutants on those fish. We're worried about the effect of the pollutants on the fish and all of the people who depend upon healthy, viable fish populations in the environment. There are many, many coastal communities that rely on healthy fish stocks for not only, simple things like recreation and fun, but also for economic gain, for sustenance, for food. I was at an art festival with a friend, and we were walking along and looking at all the art, and I was kind of like, how awesome would it be if we had an art festival for scientists, for images and videos and drawings that scientists make? Because in the lab, we have amazing technology. We have the capability of producing some of the most beautiful and technical images and videos of real biological processes. But oftentimes, people who aren't in science don't get to see them. And it's a real shame because not only are images and videos often the best way to communicate your science, but they're just cool to look at. They're just entertaining. The number of artists in the community who are interested in science is unbelievable. We had so many responses of artists willing to work with us on their own dime, volunteering on their own time. So we actually created this show. It was called The Art of a Scientist. It's in its second year now, but basically what we did was get submissions from scientists here at Duke. And this year we've actually included other students from UNC, NC State, and NCCU as well. And we've paired them with local artists. Coming up through the toxicology program here at Duke really allowed me to grow as an independent scientist and an independent researcher. I was able to ask questions that I was really interested in answering and use methods that excited me and that I was passionate about. But I was also constantly surrounded by a wonderfully supportive network, not just in the Superfund program, but also in the Nicholas School of the Environment here at Duke.